I came home early that night because my work trip got shortened. The apartment was quiet in that strange way, like someone had turned the volume down on my life. I dropped my keys on the kitchen counter, loosened my tie, and walked toward the bedroom. The house felt different somehow, warmer than usual, with a faint scent of cologne that wasn't mine hanging in the air. My name is Jake Sullivan, and I'm a 38-year-old IT consultant who thought he had his life figured out. I'd been married to Sarah for 12 years, and we'd built what I thought was a solid relationship. Sure, we had our problems like any couple, but nothing that seemed insurmountable. My best friend, Greg Martinez, had been part of our lives since college, practically family. He was the guy who helped us move into our first apartment, who was Sarah's workout buddy, who spent every weekend at our place watching football and eating my cooking. As I walked down the hallway, I heard a soft laugh I didn't recognize as mine. Actually, it was Sarah's laugh, but different somehow. Breathier, more intimate than the casual chuckles we shared over dinner or TV shows. My stomach started to knot up, but I pushed the feeling down. I was being paranoid. Sarah was probably on the phone with her sister or watching some romantic comedy. When I opened the bedroom door, my wife was in bed with my best friend like it was the most normal thing in the world. For a second, my brain refused to understand what my eyes were showing me. Sarah's dark hair was spread across the pillow, her face flushed, and Greg was beside her, his muscular frame taking up half of our king-sized bed. They weren't just lying there talking. They were clearly intimate, clearly comfortable, clearly not expecting me to walk in. The room went silent except for the sound of my own breathing, which seemed unnaturally loud. Sarah shot up, pulling the sheet around herself, her green eyes wide with something that looked more like annoyance than guilt. Greg sat up too, running his hand through his black hair, but he didn't look particularly shocked. If anything, he looked resigned, like he'd been waiting for this moment. "Jake," Sarah said, and her voice had that tone she used when she was about to explain why something that looked bad really wasn't. "You're home early." I stood there in my work clothes, navy blue suit, white shirt, red tie, feeling overdressed for whatever this conversation was about to become. My briefcase was still in my hand, and I realized I was gripping it so tightly my knuckles had gone white. "Yeah," I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. The client meeting got canceled. Sarah looked at Greg, then back at me, and I could practically see her brain working, calculating what story would work best. She'd always been quick on her feet. It's what made her such a successful marketing executive. But this wasn't a client presentation. "Okay, look," she said, sitting up straighter and trying to look confident. "This isn't what it looks like." I almost laughed. It was such a cliché, such a perfectly predictable thing to say, that for a moment I wondered if I was dreaming. But the cologne smell was stronger now, and I could see Greg's clothes scattered on the floor next to Sarah's dress, the blue one I'd complimented her on that morning. "Really?" I said. "What does it look like?" She took a deep breath, and then she said something that would replay in my mind for months afterward. "Yo, that's my best friend. Don't make this weird. It's just our tradition. We sleep together sometimes. It's not cheating, so don't be jealous." The words hit me like a physical blow. Not just the admission, but the casual way she said it, like she was explaining why she preferred one brand of coffee over another. A tradition. Like it was something quaint and harmless, something I should understand and accept. Greg finally spoke up. "Jake, man, just calm down. You're about to overreact to something that's really not a big deal." I looked at him, really looked at him. This was the guy who'd been my best man at my wedding, who'd helped me pick out Sarah's engagement ring, who'd been coming to our house for dinner every week for over a decade, and he was sitting naked in my bed, telling me not to overreact. "Not a big deal," I repeated slowly. "Exactly," Sarah said, seizing on what she thought was agreement. "It's just physical. It doesn't mean anything. Greg and I have been friends longer than you and I have been together. This is just something we do sometimes. It's not emotional." I felt something inside me go cold and clear, like ice water running through my veins. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something much more dangerous. Clarity. For the first time in months, maybe years, I was seeing my wife and my best friend exactly as they were. "Well, if it's just a tradition," I said, my voice still unnaturally calm, "and it's not a big deal, then you won't mind if I share it with other people." Sarah's confident expression flickered. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone. If this is normal and innocent, then Greg's wife Paula should know about your tradition too, right?" The color drained from Greg's face. "Jake, don't what?" I asked, raising the phone. "Don't tell Paula about something that's perfectly innocent? Something that's just a tradition between friends?" "You're being ridiculous," Sarah said, but her voice had lost its confident edge. "Put the phone down." Instead, I opened the camera app. "Smile," I said. Let's document this tradition for posterity. Jake, stop, Greg said, finally showing some real emotion. He started to get up, reaching for his clothes. You're about to ruin lives over nothing. That's when it hit me. He was worried about ruining lives, but my life was the one being ruined. My marriage, my friendship, my trust, all of it was already destroyed. They were just worried about the consequences finally catching up with them. I took one picture, clear and simple. No drama, just proof. Sarah lunged for the phone, but I was already stepping back, already hitting send. The photo went to Paula, along with a simple message. Thought you should know about Greg and Sarah's tradition. No, Sarah screamed, jumping out of bed and grabbing for my phone. You can't do that. But it was already done. The message was sent, the photo delivered. Behind me, I heard Sarah crying my name like it was an emergency button, but the moment was already gone. Greg was scrambling for his clothes, muttering curses under his breath. I looked at both of them, my wife of 12 years and my best friend since college, and realized I didn't know them at all. Or maybe I'd known them perfectly well and had just been choosing not to see it. How long? I asked. Sarah wrapped the sheet around herself tighter. Jake, please, let's talk about this rationally. How long has this tradition been going on? She looked at Greg, who was pulling on his jeans with shaking hands. Neither of them answered. Fine, I said. I guess I'll find out from Paula. My phone buzzed. A text from Paula. What the hell is this? I showed the screen to Greg. Looks like your wife wants to discuss your tradition. Greg's face went pale. Jake, please, you don't understand. Paula and I are going through a rough patch. If she finds out about this... She already has found out, I said. The question is what she's going to do about it. My phone rang. Paula's name flashed on the screen. I looked at Greg and Sarah, both of them staring at the phone like it was a bomb about to explode. Should I answer? I asked. Maybe she wants to join your tradition? Don't, Sarah whispered. Please, Jake, don't answer that. But I was already swiping to accept the call. Jake? Paula's voice was tight with fury. What the hell is going on? Is this real? Hi, Paula, I said, putting the phone on speaker so Greg and Sarah could hear. I just got home and found Greg and Sarah in bed together. Apparently it's a tradition they have. Sarah thought you should know. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Then Paula's voice came through, low and dangerous. Greg, are you there? Because I'm looking at a photo of you in bed with Sarah, and I really need you to explain this to me right now. Greg looked like he was going to be sick. Paula, baby, I can explain. Don't you dare call me baby, Paula snapped. Explain what? Explain how you've been screwing my friend behind my back? Explain how you've been lying to my face for God knows how long? It's not like that, Greg started, but Paula cut him off. Then what is it like, Greg? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my husband is cheating on me with one of my closest friends. I looked at Sarah, who had gone completely white. You didn't tell me Paula was your friend, I said. She's not, Sarah whispered. Not really, We have dinner together every month, Paula's voice came through the phone. Our kids play together. I was at your house last weekend, Sarah. I brought you that bottle of wine you said you loved. The room fell silent, except for the sound of Greg's labored breathing. He looked like he was having a panic attack, and honestly, I didn't blame him. His whole world was imploding in real time. Paula, he said finally, can we please talk about this at home, in private? Oh, now you want privacy? Paula laughed, but there was no humor in it. After you've been having your tradition with Sarah? How many people know about this, Greg? How many people have been laughing at me behind my back? Nobody, Sarah said quickly. Nobody knows. It's just between us. Just between you, Paula repeated. How considerate. How long? The question hung in the air like smoke. I found myself holding my breath, waiting for an answer I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. 2 years, Greg whispered. 2 years. 2 years of dinners and movie nights and weekend barbecues, all while they were carrying on behind our backs. 2 years of me trusting them both completely, never suspecting a thing. 2 years, I said, more to myself than to anyone else. Jake, Sarah started, but I held up my hand. Don't, I said. Just don't. My phone buzzed with another call. Paula had hung up, probably to deal with Greg in person. I could only imagine that conversation. I looked around the bedroom. Our bedroom, with the furniture we'd picked out together and the photos of our life scattered on the dresser. Everything looked the same, but it all felt like a lie now. I'm going to pack a bag, I said. Where are you going? Sarah asked. Hotel, I said. I need to think. Jake, please, she said, stepping toward me. We can work through this. It doesn't have to mean anything. I stopped and looked at her. Really looked at her. Sarah was beautiful. Always had been. Dark hair, green eyes, the kind of smile that could light up a room. But right now, she looked like a stranger. It already means something, I said. It means everything. And for the first time, I understood that their tradition was just a fancy word for betrayal. I spent that first night at a Hampton Inn about 20 minutes from our house, staring at the ceiling and trying to process what had happened. The room smelled like industrial cleaning products and someone else's life, but it was better than going home to the scene of the crime. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since I left. Sarah had called 17 times and sent 43 text messages, ranging from angry to pleading to threatening. Greg had called twice and given up. Paula had sent me one message. "Thank you for telling me. We need to talk." I ordered room service, a burger and fries that I barely touched, and tried to figure out what came next. 12 years of marriage didn't just disappear overnight, even when you discovered your wife had been cheating with your best friend for 2 years. There were practical considerations. The house, the bank accounts, the life we'd built together. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. I opened my laptop and started going through our financial records. If Sarah and Greg had been carrying on for 2 years, there might be evidence I'd missed: hotel charges, restaurant bills, unexplained expenses. I'd always trusted Sarah to handle most of our finances. She was better with money than I was, but now I wondered what else I'd been trusting her with. What I found made my stomach drop. Over the past 2 years, there had been regular charges to a credit card I didn't recognize. Expensive dinners, weekend getaways, even what looked like jewelry purchases. The card was in Sarah's name, but it was linked to our joint checking account. She'd been funding her affair with our money. I took screenshots of everything, then kept digging. There were Venmo payments to Greg, labeled as dinner or gas money, but they were always in round numbers: $50, $100, $200. Who pays exactly $100 for gas money? My phone rang. Sarah again. This time I answered. "Jake, thank God," she said, and I could hear she'd been crying. "Where are you? We need to talk." "I'm somewhere safe," I said, "and we are talking. Not like this. Face to face, like adults." "Adults don't have secret affairs for 2 years," I said. "Adults don't use joint checking accounts to fund their cheating." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then, "What are you talking about?" "The credit card, Sarah. The one you thought I didn't know about. The one you've been using to pay for your dates with Greg." More silence. I could practically hear her brain working, trying to figure out how much I knew and how much she could still deny. "That's not what that was for," she said finally. "Really? Then what was it for?" "It's complicated." I laughed, and the sound surprised me. It wasn't a happy laugh. "Everything's complicated when you get caught, isn't it? Jake, please come home. We can figure this out." "Is Greg there?" "No, of course not. He left right after you did." "Where did he go?" "I don't know. Probably home to deal with Paula." I wondered how that conversation was going. Paula Martinez was not the kind of woman who would take this quietly. She was a kindergarten teacher with the organizational skills of a military general and the temper of a honey badger when provoked. Greg was probably having the worst night of his life. "Good. Sarah," I said, "I need you to answer a question, and I need you to tell me the truth." "Okay. How many other people know about this?" She was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. Then, "What do you mean?" "I mean, who else knows you've been sleeping with Greg? Your friends? His friends? People at work?" "Nobody knows," she said quickly. "We were very careful." "Careful," I repeated. "You were careful while you were betraying your husband and your friend's wife." "It wasn't supposed to happen," she said, and now she was crying again. It started as a friendship, and then one thing led to another, and 2 years, Sarah. 2 years isn't one thing led to another. 2 years is a relationship." "It's not a relationship," she protested. "It's just physical. I love you, Jake. I've always loved you." "You have a funny way of showing it." My phone buzzed with another call. "Paula." I looked at Sarah's name on the screen and made a decision. "Sarah, I have to go. Paula's calling." "Don't talk to her," Sarah said quickly. "Please, Jake, whatever she says, remember that she's angry and hurt, and she might not be thinking clearly." "Unlike you, who was thinking very clearly when you decided to sleep with her husband?" I hung up and answered Paula's call. "Jake?" Her voice was rough, like she'd been crying or yelling or both. "Hi, Paula. How are you holding up?" She laughed bitterly. "How do you think? I just found out my husband has been cheating on me for 2 years with someone I thought was my friend. I'm fantastic." "Where's Greg?" gone. I told him to get out. He's probably at his brother's place, crying about how mean I'm being to him." She paused. "Jake, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Okay. Did you know? Did you suspect anything?" The question hit me harder than I expected. Had I known? Had there been signs I'd ignored or explained away? "No," I said finally. "I didn't know. But now that I think about it, there were things that should have made me suspicious." "Like what?" I thought about it. Greg was always around, more than usual, I mean, and Sarah started working out more, caring more about how she looked. She said it was for her health, but now you're wondering if it was for him. "Yeah." Paula was quiet for a moment. Then, "They went to Miami together last month." "What?" "Sarah told you she was going to a marketing conference, right? Greg told me he was visiting his cousin, but I saw the photos on Facebook. They were at the same hotel, Jake, the same beach." My stomach dropped. The marketing conference. Sarah had been so excited about it, said it was a great opportunity for networking. She'd even shown me the conference brochure, talked about the sessions she wanted to attend. "You saw photos?" "Sarah posted them. Pictures of the beach, the hotel pool, her dinner. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but then Greg came home with a tan and stories about Miami beaches. When I asked him about his cousin, he got weird and changed the subject. I felt sick. They went on vacation together. They went on vacation together while lying to both of us about it." The weight of the betrayal was starting to sink in. This wasn't just a physical affair, it was an emotional relationship complete with romantic getaways and shared lies. They'd been living a double life, and they'd gotten good at it. "Paula," I said, "what are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. I called a lawyer friend of mine just to understand my options." "What about you?" "I'm still trying to process all of this." "Jake, can I ask you something else?" "Sure. Do you think there's any chance they're right? That this doesn't have to mean anything? That we could just get past it?" I thought about Sarah in our bed with Greg, about the casual way she dismissed my feelings, about the credit card and the lies and the Miami trip. "No," I said. "I don't think I could get past this." "Me neither," Paula said quietly. "I keep thinking about all the times Greg came home from your house and was extra nice to me, extra attentive. I thought he was just being sweet, but now I wonder if it was guilt." "Probably." And all the times Sarah and I had coffee together, and she listened to me complain about my marriage problems. She was sleeping with my husband while giving me advice about my relationship with him. The more we talked, the more the full scope of the betrayal became clear. It wasn't just about sex, it was about lies and manipulation and the complete violation of trust. They'd made fools of us, and they'd done it for 2 years. "Paula, I have an idea," I said. "What?" "What if we worked together on this? Compared notes, shared information. If they've been lying to us for 2 years, there might be things we don't know yet." "Like what?" "Like how many other people they've told. Like whether this is the first time for either of them. Like what they're planning to do now that they've been caught." Paula was quiet for a moment. Then, "You want to investigate our own spouses." "I want to know the truth, all of it." "Okay," she said. "I'm in, but Jake?" "Yeah?" "I don't want to just find out the truth. I want them to pay for what they've done." I thought about Sarah's casual dismissal of my feelings, about Greg's assumption that I would just accept their betrayal, about the 2 years of lies and the Miami trip and the secret credit card. "So do I said. And that's when I realized that this wasn't just about discovering an affair. This was about getting revenge. The next morning, I called in sick to work and met Paula at a coffee shop downtown, far from our neighborhood where we might run into mutual friends. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and her eyes were red-rimmed behind her glasses. "I brought everything I could find," she said, sliding a manila folder across the table. "Credit card statements, phone bills, anything that might show a pattern." I opened the folder and spread the documents out between our coffee cups. Paula had been thorough. There were highlighted charges, handwritten notes, even printed screenshots from social media. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a series of charges on Greg's credit card. "Every other Thursday for the past 6 months. The Marriott downtown, always the same amount." "That's a hotel room," I said. "A hotel room 15 minutes from both of our houses. They weren't even trying to hide it. They just assumed we'd never compare notes." I pulled out my own folder. Sarah's been getting her hair done every other Wednesday for the past 6 months. Same salon, expensive treatments. I thought she was just taking better care of herself. She was getting ready for her dates with my husband. We worked through the evidence methodically, building a timeline of their affair. The patterns were clear once you knew what to look for. the synchronized schedules, the matching expenses, the coordinated lies. "Here's something interesting," Paula said, showing me a text message thread she'd printed out. "Greg's been texting with his brother Marcus a lot more lately. Look at this one from last week." I read the message. "Sarah's getting suspicious about Jake. Might need to cool it for a while." "Sarah's getting suspicious about Jake?" I repeated. "What the hell does that mean?" Paula's face was grim. "I think it means they're worried you're catching on to something, but what?" I thought about the past few weeks, trying to remember if I'd said or done anything that might have made Sarah suspicious. Then it hit me. "The credit card," I said. "I asked Sarah about some charges I didn't recognize. She said they were for work expenses, but I kept asking questions. So they knew you were getting close to figuring it out. Which means they were planning to either end it or get better at hiding it." Paula leaned back in her chair. "Or they were planning something else entirely." "Like what?" She showed me another text, this one from Sarah's phone to Greg. "Maybe it's time to tell them. We can't keep living like this." I stared at the message. "Tell us what?" "I don't know, but look at the date. This was sent 3 days ago. 3 days before I'd walked in on them. 3 days before their world had exploded." "Paula," I said slowly, "what if I hadn't come home early that night? What if I'd come home at my normal time?" "You think they wanted you to catch them?" "I think they were planning to tell us something, and maybe my catching them just accelerated their timeline." We sat in silence for a moment, processing this new information. If they'd been planning to confess, what were they going to say? That they were leaving us for each other? That they wanted to try some kind of open marriage arrangement? That they were in love? "There's something else," Paula said quietly. "I called Greg's brother Marcus this morning." "What did he say?" "He said Greg's been talking about you and Sarah for months, about how unhappy you both seemed, how maybe you'd be better off with other people." My blood ran cold. "He's been discussing my marriage with his brother. Apparently Greg thinks you and Sarah are fundamentally incompatible. He told Marcus that Sarah deserves someone who understands her better, someone who shares her interests." "Someone like him?" "Someone like him." I felt a surge of anger unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It was one thing to have an affair. That was betrayal. But it was at least honest about what it was. But this was something else entirely. Greg had been analyzing my marriage, deciding it was flawed, positioning himself as Sarah's better option. What else did Marcus say? He said Greg's been planning to leave me for months. He's been moving money around, talking to lawyers, getting his ducks in a row for a divorce. While having an affair with my wife. While having an affair with your wife and pretending everything was normal. I thought about all the evenings Greg had spent at our house, all the times he'd offered relationship advice, all the moments when he'd seemed like such a good friend. He'd been studying my marriage like a competitor studies the competition. "Paula, I need to ask you something." "What? Are you still in love with Greg?" She considered the question seriously. "I thought I was, but now I'm wondering if I was in love with the person I thought he was, not the person he actually is." "What do you mean?" "I mean, the Greg I married wouldn't have done this. The Greg I married was honest and loyal and kind. This Greg, the one who's been lying to my face for 2 years while planning to leave me, I don't know who this person is." I understood exactly what she meant. The Sarah I'd fallen in love with was direct and passionate and fiercely loyal. She would have been disgusted by the kind of deception we'd uncovered, but maybe that Sarah had never existed, or maybe she'd changed into someone else entirely. "So, what do we do now?" I asked. Paula's expression hardened. "Now we make sure they understand the consequences of their choices." "What do you have in mind?" "Well, first, I think we need to tell everyone." "Everyone?" "Their friends, their families, their coworkers. If they wanted to have an affair, fine. But they don't get to control the narrative about what happened." I thought about this. Sarah worked at a marketing firm where image was everything. If her colleagues knew she'd been having an affair with a married man, it would definitely impact her reputation. And Greg owned a small construction business that depended on referrals and word of mouth. If people knew he was a cheater, it might hurt his bottom line. "That's a good start," I said. "What else?" "I want to make sure Greg doesn't get to walk away from this marriage with half of everything while leaving me with nothing. If he's been planning this divorce for months, he's probably been hiding assets." "Can you prove that?" "I'm going to try. I made an appointment with a divorce attorney for this afternoon." "Good. I should probably do the same." Paula nodded, then looked at me seriously. "Jake, I need you to understand something. I'm not just angry about the affair. I'm angry about the lying, the manipulation, the way they made us feel crazy for trusting them. I want them to hurt the way they hurt us. I understand. Do you? Because what I'm talking about isn't just about getting a fair divorce settlement. I want their friends to know what they did. I want their families to know. I want them to face consequences for their choices. I thought about Sarah's casual dismissal of my feelings, about her tradition comment, about the way she'd tried to make me feel like I was overreacting to a perfectly normal situation. I want that too, I said. Good, because I have some ideas about how to make that happen. Paula opened her purse and pulled out a small notebook. She flipped through several pages covered in her neat handwriting. I've been thinking about this all night, she said. Greg and Sarah think they're so smart, think they've been so careful, but they've also been careless in some important ways. Like what? Like the fact that they've been using social media to document their relationship without realizing it. Like the fact that they've confided in people who might not be as loyal as they think. Like the fact that they've made assumptions about how we'll react that might not be accurate. She showed me a page in her notebook. It was covered with names, dates, and what looked like a detailed plan. Paula, I said, what exactly are you proposing? She smiled, and for the first time since this whole thing started, it was a genuine smile. I'm proposing we give them exactly what they deserve. And as she started explaining her plan, I realized that my quiet, sweet kindergarten teacher friend had a very devious mind when she was properly motivated. Paula's plan was elegant in its simplicity. We would systematically inform everyone in Greg and Sarah's lives about their affair, but we wouldn't do it in anger or spite. We would do it calmly, with evidence, and with a clear explanation of why we felt people deserved to know the truth. We started with family. I called Sarah's sister Jennifer first. Jennifer lived in Portland and had always been protective of Sarah, but she was also fiercely moral and had strong opinions about infidelity. Jake? Jennifer sounded surprised to hear from me. Is everything okay? Sarah said you were having some marriage problems. That's actually why I'm calling, I said. I wanted you to hear this from me before you heard it from someone else. I told Jennifer everything, the discovery, the timeline, the evidence we'd uncovered. I sent her the photos, the credit card statements, the text messages. I was factual and calm, letting the evidence speak for itself. Jennifer was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then, 2 years? 2 years. And she told you it was a tradition? She did. Jake, I am so sorry. This is not the sister I raised. This is not the person I thought she was. I know, I'm still trying to process it myself. What can I do? How can I help? Just don't let her rewrite history. Don't let her make this my fault or minimize what she did. I won't. And Jake, you deserve so much better than this. Meanwhile, Paula was calling Greg's parents. His mother was a devout Catholic who had very strong opinions about the sanctity of marriage. His father was a retired police officer who valued honesty above almost everything else. The conversation didn't go well for Greg. Next, we moved on to friends. This was trickier because many of our friends were mutual friends, people who would have to choose sides or try to stay neutral. But we'd agreed that people deserved to know the truth, especially the friends who might have been lied to or manipulated. I called Tom Brennan, who had been in my wedding party and was one of our closest couple friends. Tom and his wife Lisa had been having regular dinner parties with us and Greg and Paula for years. Jesus, Jake, Tom said after I explained the situation. I can't believe it. Greg seems so normal, so committed to Paula. I know, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And Sarah? Lisa's going to be devastated. She really looked up to Sarah, thought she had the perfect marriage figured out. Nobody has it figured out, apparently. What are you going to do? I'm filing for divorce. I can't get past this, Tom. It's not just the affair, it's the lying, the manipulation, the complete disrespect for our marriage. I don't blame you. If Lisa did something like this, I can't even imagine. I hope you never have to. Tom was quiet for a moment. Then, Jake, I need to tell you something. A few months ago, Lisa mentioned that she thought Sarah was acting different, more secretive, more concerned about her appearance. Lisa wondered if she was having an affair, but I told her she was being paranoid. Sarah was acting different? Yeah. And now that I think about it, Greg was too. More distracted when we'd hang out, always checking his phone. I just thought he was busy with work. He was busy, just not with work. After I hung up with Tom, I sat in my hotel room and tried to process what he'd told me. Other people had noticed changes in Sarah and Greg's behavior. Other people had suspected something was wrong. But nobody had said anything, probably because accusing friends of having an affair is not something you do lightly. My phone rang. Sarah. Jake, what are you doing? Her voice was tight with anger. I'm having conversations with people I care about. You called Jennifer. You told her everything. I did. She called me screaming. She said I was a disgrace to the family. She said she was ashamed to be related to me. I'm sorry you're upset. You're sorry I'm upset? Jake, you're destroying my relationships with people I love. I'm telling people the truth about what you did. If that destroys your relationships, maybe you should have thought about that before you started having an affair. This is cruel, Sarah said, and now she was crying. This is vindictive and cruel and unnecessary. You know what's cruel? I said, my calm finally starting to crack. Lying to your husband for 2 years, using his money to fund your affair, going on romantic vacations while pretending to attend work conferences. That's cruel, Sarah. I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me. You hurt me every single day for 2 years, and you did it on purpose. It wasn't supposed to be like this. How was it supposed to be? What was the plan, Sarah? Were you going to leave me for Greg? Were you going to ask for some kind of open marriage? Were you just going to keep lying forever? She was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, we were going to tell you. When? Soon. We were trying to figure out the right way to do it. The right way to do what? To tell you that we're in love. The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd suspected it, but hearing her say it out loud was different. They weren't just having an affair, they thought they were in love. In love, I repeated. Yes. With each other. Yes. While married to other people. Jake, it's not that simple. It is that simple, I shouted, my composure finally breaking completely. You're married to me. You made vows to me. You promised to be faithful to me. And instead of talking to me about problems in our marriage or asking for a divorce if you were unhappy, you decided to have an affair with my best friend. I know you're angry. I'm not angry, Sarah. I'm done. I'm completely, totally done with you and your explanations and your justifications. Don't say that. I'm filing for divorce. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what you did and why our marriage ended, and I'm going to make sure you don't get to rewrite history or play the victim. Jake, please. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd never been so angry in my life, but underneath the anger was something else, relief. For the first time since this whole thing started, I'd been completely honest about how I felt. I'd stopped trying to be reasonable and understanding and had just told Sarah exactly what I thought of her choices. My phone buzzed with a text from Paula. Greg just called. He's furious that we're airing their dirty laundry. He says we're being vindictive. I texted back, Good, let him be furious. He wants to meet with us, says we need to handle this like adults. What did you tell him? I told him that adults don't have affairs with their friends' spouses, but I also think we should meet with them. Why? Because I want to look him in the eye when I tell him exactly what I think of him, and I want Sarah to see what she's done to both of our families. I thought about it. Part of me never wanted to see either of them again, but another part of me, the part that was still processing the betrayal and trying to understand how 2 people I'd trusted completely had been lying to me for 2 years, wanted answers. Okay, I texted back. Let's meet with them. Tomorrow night. Neutral location. I'm thinking the restaurant where we all had dinner last month. The one where they were probably playing footsie under the table while we talked about our vacation plans? That's the one. Perfect. Let's give them a chance to explain themselves. But even as I agreed to the meeting, I knew there was no explanation that would make this better. Some betrayals are too deep, too complete, too destructive to forgive. And I was starting to realize that I didn't want to forgive them anyway. I wanted them to face the consequences of their choices. All of them. The restaurant was nearly empty on a Tuesday night, which was perfect for what we had planned. Paula and I arrived separately and chose a table in the back corner where we could speak privately without being overheard. I'd barely slept the night before, running through everything I wanted to say, all the questions I needed answered. Sarah arrived first, looking nervous and overdressed in a black cocktail dress I'd never seen before. Probably something she'd bought for one of her dates with Greg. She sat down across from me without making eye contact. Jake, she said quietly, thank you for agreeing to meet. Don't thank me yet. Greg walked in 5 minutes later, scanning the restaurant until he spotted our table. He looked terrible. Unshaven, rumpled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. Paula's conversation with his parents had apparently not gone well. He sat down next to Sarah, and for the first time I could see them as a couple. They moved in sync, shared glances, communicated without words. It was probably how they'd always been, and I'd just been too trusting to notice. Okay, Greg said, trying to sound authoritative. We're all here. Let's figure out how to handle this situation like mature adults. Paula laughed, a sharp sound with no humor in it. Mature adults? Greg, you've been lying to my face for 2 years while sleeping with my friend. I'm not sure you get to lecture anyone about maturity. Paula, I know you're hurt. Hurt? Paula's voice rose slightly. I'm not hurt, Greg. Hurt is what you feel when someone forgets your birthday or cancels dinner plans. I'm devastated. I'm humiliated. I'm furious. Sarah reached across the table toward me. Jake, please. We never wanted this to happen. It developed naturally. I looked down at her hand, then back at her face. What developed naturally? The lying? The secret credit cards? The fake business trips? The feelings, she said. The connection Greg and I have. You mean the connection you developed while you were married to me and he was married to Paula? It's not that simple. It is that simple, I said, echoing what I'd told her on the phone. You're married. He's married. You decided to have an affair instead of dealing with your problems honestly. Greg leaned forward. Jake, man, I know this is hard to understand, but sometimes these things just happen. Sarah and I, we have something special. Something real. Something real, I repeated. Built on lies and betrayal. Built on genuine feelings, Sarah said. Jake, I care about you. I always will. But what Greg and I have, it's different. It's deeper. Paula made a disgusted sound. Deeper. You've known each other for 15 years, Sarah. You've been friends with both of us for over a decade. If your feelings were so deep and genuine, why didn't you get divorced before you started sleeping together? Sarah and Greg exchanged a look. Then Sarah said, because we weren't sure it would work out. We didn't want to destroy our marriages for something that might just be physical attraction. So you decided to test drive your relationship while staying married to us, I said. How considerate. That's not how it was, Greg protested. Then how was it? Paula demanded. Explain it to me, Greg. Explain how you justified lying to me every day for 2 years. Explain how you justified taking my friend on romantic vacations while telling me you were visiting family. Explain how you justified planning to divorce me while pretending everything was fine. I was trying to protect you, Greg said weakly. Protect me from what? From the truth, from getting hurt unnecessarily. Paula stared at him like he'd grown a second head. You were trying to protect me by lying to me? I was trying to figure out the best way to handle a complicated situation. The best way to handle it would have been to not sleep with my friend. Paula's voice was getting louder, and other diners were starting to look in our direction. Sarah looked around nervously. Maybe we should lower our voices. Maybe you should have thought about public embarrassment before you decided to have an affair, I said. Jake, please, Sarah said. I know you're angry, but we're trying to explain. I don't want your explanations, I interrupted. I want answers to specific questions. Okay, she said. Ask me anything. How many times? What? How many times did you sleep with him? I want a number. Sarah's face flushed. I don't think that's... I want a number, Sarah. You owe me that much. She looked at Greg, who nodded slightly. I don't know exactly. Maybe 50 times? 60? Over 2 years? Yes. So this wasn't just a few mistakes or moments of weakness. This was a sustained relationship. Yes, she whispered. Did you ever think about me? When you were with him? Did you ever think about what this would do to me if I found out? Of course I did. And you did it anyway. Yes. Because your feelings for him were more important than your marriage to me. Sarah started crying. It wasn't like that. I love you, Jake. I've always loved you. No, I said firmly. You don't get to say that. You don't get to claim you love me while you're having an affair with my best friend. Love doesn't work that way. Greg cleared his throat. Jake, I want you to know that I never intended for this to hurt you. I turned to look at him. Really? You never intended for sleeping with my wife to hurt me? I mean, I hoped you'd never find out. So your plan was to lie to me forever. My plan was to figure out what Sarah and I wanted before anyone got hurt. Anyone got hurt? Paula repeated incredulously. Greg, we're already hurt. We've been hurt for 2 years. We just didn't know it. That's not the same thing, Greg said. It's exactly the same thing. Paula slammed her hand on the table, making the water glasses jump. You betrayed me, Greg. You betrayed our marriage, our friendship, our entire life together. The fact that I didn't know about it doesn't make it less real. The restaurant had gone quiet around us. Other diners were openly staring now, but I didn't care. Let them stare. Let them see what cheaters looked like when they got caught. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice calm and steady. Sarah, I'm filing for divorce. I'm going to ask for everything I'm legally entitled to. including compensation for the money you spent on your affair. I'm going to make sure everyone we know understands exactly why our marriage ended. Jake, you don't have to. I'm not finished, I said. Greg, I've already told your parents, your brother, and most of our mutual friends about your affair. I'm going to make sure your business contacts know what kind of person they're dealing with. Greg's face went pale. You can't do that. That's my livelihood. You should have thought about that before you decided to sleep with my wife. This is vindictive, Sarah said. This is cruel and unnecessary. What's cruel is lying to someone for 2 years, Paula said. What's cruel is making your spouse feel crazy for trusting you. What's cruel is planning to leave someone while pretending everything is fine. We were trying to find the right way to handle this, Greg protested. The right way was to not do it in the first place, I said. But since you did do it, the right way would have been to tell us immediately. Not to carry on for 2 years while lying to our faces. We're telling you now, Sarah said desperately. You're not telling us anything, Paula said. We caught you. There's a difference. Sarah looked around the restaurant, clearly uncomfortable with the attention we were drawing. Can we please continue this conversation somewhere more private? No, I said. We can't, because this conversation is over. I stood up from the table. Paula did the same. Where are you going? Sarah asked. Away from you, I said, permanently. Jake, wait, Greg called after me. We can work this out. We can find a solution that works for everyone. I turned back to look at him. Greg, there is no solution. You destroyed my marriage and your marriage because you wanted to sleep with my wife. There are consequences for that. You're going to live with them. This doesn't have to be the end of everything, Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I said. It does. Paula and I walked out of the restaurant together, leaving Greg and Sarah sitting at the table. Through the window, I could see them talking intensely, probably trying to figure out how to minimize the damage we were about to do to their reputations. It was too late for that. How do you feel? Paula asked as we stood in the parking lot. Angry, I said, but also relieved. I think I needed to see them together, needed to hear them try to justify what they did. Did it help? Yeah. It helped me realize that they're not the people I thought they were. Maybe they never were. Paula nodded. Greg kept talking about protecting me and finding the right way to handle things, but what he really meant was finding a way to get what he wanted without facing consequences. And Sarah kept saying she loved me while explaining why she chose to betray me. I don't think she understands what love actually means. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching traffic pass by on the street. Paula, I said finally, I want to thank you. For what? For helping me see this clearly, for not letting me make excuses for them or try to minimize what they did. Thank you for telling me the truth. If you hadn't sent me that photo, they would have kept lying to both of us. Probably forever. I thought about that, about a future where Sarah and Greg continued their affair while Paula and I remained oblivious. It would have been a different kind of betrayal, but no less devastating. They made their choice, I said. Now they get to live with it. And for the first time since I'd walked into my bedroom and found my wife with my best friend, I felt like I was going to be okay. Better than okay, actually. I was going to be free.